Welcome everyone back to another edition of the Association, a weekly podcast put on by yours truly, Jerry Riles, and of course the man of the hour, ladies and gentlemen, six-time NBA. I'll call him a star. Call him a star. But he's an all-star in all of our hearts, especially those Chicagoans who love this guy during his playing days. He's the current senior counselor for the National Basketball Players Association, ladies and gentlemen, and he's only one. He's only three. You haven't fun at my expense, aren't you? He's only one of three former NBA players to hold a doctorate degree. Soon to be four. He's none other than the illustrious, the fabulous, the sensational, the dynamic, and of course, the author. His memoirs will be coming out. He's the one. He's the only. He's Dr. Lloyd Walton on the Association podcast. What's up, Doc? How are you?
Hey, man, I'm good. I'm really good. And it's special because anytime you're quarantined or you have to stay at home piece, you got to be feeling kind of crazy, a little stir crazy, what have you. But I feel pretty good, honestly.
Now you're not having any parties over there like they had this past weekend on the West Side. You don't have all that stuff going on, do you?
Well, first of all, I don't know enough people to have a party. Okay. It's just me. That's it, man. That's the only party we have.
Well, hey, as long as you're safe and sound, you and the family, that's phenomenal, brother. And I think the phrase of the week is there's light at the end of the tunnel. There are numerous states around the country are saying they're opening. Some opening up as far as the taping of this podcast on Friday. May 1st, that they're going to be opening up the doors and opening up business and getting back to normalcy. Other states, the great state of Illinois that we reside in, our governor, J.B. Pritzker, said, no, hold off. We're going to wait till May 25th before we start to get back to business as usual. So for those who choose to go out and mingle and be a part and get business back up and running, God bless them. May they be safe and sound. And, as they say, let's get through this together.
Well, I'm a little leery of those people opening so soon. And that's what I call. I think it's too soon.
Right.
I could be wrong. I follow the science, and I've said on this show before, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Bird. I mean, I follow them, man. I believe in what they say, and not the
right.
suits that stand around them, if you will. And they have expressed their concern, particularly about Georgia opening so soon, and there's some other states that followed suit. I'm a little bit concerned about that. I think everybody's health is the most important thing. And I think we need to have a little bit more restrictions regarding masks or even gloves when we start opening back up. If this doesn't go right, they've already said it's going to hit us harder than we could even imagine. And so I'm more fearful of that, and I hope nobody else gets sick, honestly. But I'm just a little fearful that we're jumping the gun, if you will, at this point in time.
No, I agree with you. And as they say, history, somehow, some way always finds a way to repeat itself. And if we look at the numbers that occurred back in the pandemic when it hit in 1918, it was similar to what's going on today, where, there were a few deaths in the first phase of it, and then everything kind of settled down. But then when that second phase came, boom, the numbers went off the chart. And we know that it was in the millions of people worldwide that died from that pandemic. So like you, I hope that everyone is smart. I hope they pay attention to science. And I hope that they just have common sense and say, we need to ride this thing out and stay as healthy and stay as safe as we possibly can. And don't be drinking bleach and ammonia and disinfectant. Don't do it.
Hey, man, if you believe somebody to tell you to drink disinfectant and bleach, and that will cure the coronavirus or prevent you even from contracting it, shame on you.
Well, Doc, unfortunately, there are a lot of people that believe it. Maryland, the state of Maryland, got numerous calls when the president suggested that. There are people, doctors. I have a doctor friend that say, the UV, the ultraviolet light, it can actually help. So the president wasn't really off on that. So there are people out there, brother. Let
me ask you this. Did you hear Dr. Fauci or Dr. Bird say that?
No, I did not.
Okay.
No, I did not.
Okay, then why are you believing this guy Hey, honey.
Oh, I don't believe him. I don't believe him.
Honey, I've been on the show. This is my
Yeah,
wife.
yeah, yeah. Tell her I don't believe it.
I can't.
Tell her I don't believe it. Go ahead, man. Tell her, tell her, tell her I don't believe it.
What are you doing? Getting a bottle of bleach?
Tell her, hey, no, I'm going safe. I'm going safe, man. I'm not doing the bleach. Tell her. I think the glass cleaner. You think that'll help?
Look,
You think? Oh, jeez, I'm spilling it all over myself.
the bottom line is that
No, it's no joking matter. It's no joking matter.
I mean, but no, it's not a joking matter. But seriously, what do you do when people tell you they actually believe this guy who told you that it would be okay to drink bleach and disinfectant? But I think about this though. I think about what happened. The law, I think it was a law that came up with that you can't yell fire in a theater.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The same way you shouldn't be able to tell people to drink bleach for the coronavirus.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
are you serious? But
Right.
anyway, I just hope everybody who's sick gets well, and I hope nobody else gets it.
You're absolutely right. But you just said, are you serious? Here's the spin that was put on it. The next day he came back and said, oh, it was just sarcasm. It was just sarcastic. I was just kidding. It wasn't really a joke. How do you make a joke or bring up a sarcastic comment like that, regardless of whatever, in a situation like this where thousands of people are dying worldwide, and you feel it, and people are listening to everything you say, regardless if they agree with it or not. You feel this is a time to make a joke or just respond in a sarcastic way. That's just totally irresponsible in my book.
Well, first of all, he wasn't joking. He was
He
serious.
said he was. He said he was.
Yeah, but if you watch people, if you listen to people and how they talk, their mannerisms, right, and what have you, he was serious. He really believed that. And then he was informed after he left the stage that night that that's the most ridiculous thing you could say, and they're going to call you out on it. And then he came back and tried to make jest of it. He's not as smart as he thinks he is. He said he has a great mind, but it's not. He does, but it's just not working. Okay, it's like the guy with the Rolls Royce that has no engine. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't work.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The
Right.
unfortunate part of it is people who like the Rolls Royce, they think it's a great car, but it's not moving. So people who his fan base, they really like what he said, but they'll die if they do it.
Well,
Makes no sense.
no, it doesn't at all. It doesn't make any sense at all. Dr. Lloyd Walton on the Association of Weekly Podcast. Let's dive into it, man. And I know that you've been chomping at the bit. I've been chomping at the bit. Everybody's been chomping at the bit. The Last Dance, episode 3 and episode 4, and the big one, the bad boys, the Pistons, Jordan, the Bulls, the walking off the court, and then Isiah Thomas. First of all, Michael Jordan said, dude, he called him an asshole. He called Isiah Thomas, Chicago's very own, an asshole. And then all week long, Isiah Thomas has been going on every outlet possible to try to clear things up, spin it as best he possibly can, and proclaim himself as not a bad boy, a bad guy because they walked off the court. What did you take? You were there during that time. You played, during the era, before the era, really, but you played in the league. And you've been able to see it from both spectrums. What was your account when you saw that, heard that, and witnessed that?
Well, I feel the same way that I felt 30 years ago. No one is bigger than the game. The game needs to be taken care of, meaning sportsmanship, right? Appreciation, right, for your peers. And when you lose, I think about this when I played bitty basketball many, many years ago. Back then, they had us line up after every game. We shake our opponent's hands. We would shake the coach's hands of the opponent, of the opposing team. The same. You're not bigger than the game, okay? Never should you leave the court after a game and not shake the opponent's hand, especially in this case, you got swept 4-0, okay? There's a new champ. And when you look back in the series that happens the year before when Detroit beat Chicago, there you see Michael hugging and shaking Isiah's hands.
Right.
The Dumas came out this week and said that after they beat the Bulls several years in a row, him and Michael always hugged and dapped up, and he would say, "Man, what a good game, what a good series, rather." This is a place for this kind of stuff, man. It really isn't. And me and Zeke are cool. I mean, we're real cool. He gives me the kind of respect that you give your elders, rather. Okay, so I don't have a bone in this fight. I just know that that's not how you do it. And as he said, you know, if he could do it over, he probably would do something different. But when you are the leader of a team, there's a certain responsibility and accountability that you have to have. And again, you're not bigger than the game. You have to treat the game the way you want it to be, want it to treat you. And that's way. That's in a way that nobody can say it, an unquestionable kind of way. This is not a fight on the floor. This is after the game is over and the series is over. Congratulate your peers. And I want to make this real clear, because there are people, and I think Zeke might have said it himself, but how the year before that the Celtics walked off, Larry Bird and what have you. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. I want you to be accountable for what you did, because I'm going to be accountable for what I did. Okay? If somebody else goes out and acts a fool or shoots somebody, am I going to do that? That doesn't make any sense what they did. You should be the one who's correcting the way things are done. And that's by doing it the right way. So it is what it is. 30 years ago, man, he's paid dearly for it. I mean, dearly. And that's unfortunate. And I'll just say, there's no way he shouldn't have been on the Dream Team. There was no comparison to him and John Stockton. None. Zip. And,
you say he should not have been on the Dream Team? He should have?
He should have been on the Dream Team. Right. There was no comparison between him and John Stockton. Okay? I want to make that clear. He should have been on the Dream Team. One of the best players in the league, and probably, as somebody has said, probably the number 2 best guard in NBA history. There's no way he shouldn't have been on that team. One of the best that ever played, man. But unfortunately, when you make such an egregious mistake as that, people have a tendency to look at you very differently. And they don't give you that they don't give you an opportunity to use that equity that you built up over the years. And so you suffer. And he suffered through that. Because that's the only missing piece on his resume is the Dream Team. Right.
Well, I mean, part of that, Michael Jordan obviously had the final say in that, right?
Whoa. Don't say that. Where did you get that from? Because Rod Thorne, who's the head of Olympic basketball, came out yesterday and made it very, very clear. Michael Jordan never mentioned Isiah Thomas' name. Never. Okay? And when you have the head of basketball who chose his coach, Chuck Daly, to coach the team, and he said Michael never mentioned his name. We can't do that, man. We can't do that unless Michael told you himself he said something.
Well, he may not have mentioned his name, but the story is that he never embraced it. And the understanding is that was a sign, that was a signal that, and the reason it stems from when Michael was an all-star. You cleared up, man, because this is the the word on the street, because Isiah tried to shun him in Michael's all-star appearance. That the competitive guy that Michael is, he never forgot that. And so when he was in a position, because I'm sure all the players were asked, in one shape, way, or form, if this is the guy, because you're absolutely right. Isiah Thomas definitely should have been on that team. And for him to be left off and put on by John Stockton, and not slighting John Stockton in any way, there were some underlying issues taking place with that team. And we see the bonding that Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan had, Charles Barkley, all those guys. Isiah was left off that team for a reason. And it wasn't because of his ability.
But you can't say that it was because of Michael. It's not right. You don't know that. He hasn't said that. Nope. You can't put that on him. And here's the deal. So Rod Thorne comes out yesterday and he says, so here's how we went. Chuck Daly brought us a list. He was the coach. He brought a list to say, these are the guys we want to bring in and try out, right? probably a list of 25 guys, 26 guys, something like that. Isiah's name was on that list, okay? As they went through that vetting process with him and the other coaches and Rod Thorne and his group, they narrowed it down. They had some tryouts, some workouts and what have you. They narrowed it down and Isiah wasn't on it. Now, when they initially went to Michael and asked him would he participate, he said no. He didn't say no. He said, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. It took him another week or two for them to convince Magic, to convince Bird, to convince Charles and Karl Malone to be on the team. They said yes. That's when they rerouted and went back to Michael. This is without mentioning Isiah Thomas' name. Hey, right. These are the guys we've got already. And he said, oh, okay, you got them? I'm in. Now, I will say this. There's some other people on that list that may have said that they didn't want Isiah on there. I don't know why people just stop it at Michael. Remember the fight, not the fight, but the bruising that Isiah took from Karl Malone? He popped him in the middle of the game in the playoffs in the over the eye where he got pitches.
Yeah, boom, boom,
right.
Boom, he knocked him out. Yeah, and yeah, we remember that.
Karl Malone was not only did that, but he was also the one that said he didn't want Magic to play when Magic contracted AIDS.
Right, of course.
So why don't we stop? Why don't we stop it at his doorstep? Because he's always been outspoken. You never hear what he said. He's been outspoken about when he didn't want to play with a guy.
But Doc, you've been around long enough. You've been around long enough. People that command respect and have the authority that they have, regardless of whatever walk of life it is, in the business world, sometimes they don't even have to say a word. You just actually know what the situation calls for, and you abide by it. Michael doesn't have to say, hey, I don't want Isiah on the team. He doesn't have to say that.
So what does he do? What does he do to say that then? What does he do?
You know what? When the question is asked, hey, do you think Isiah should be on the team?
First of all, the question was never asked.
So Michael wasn't in the thing. Michael didn't. Wait.
The question was never asked.
So Michael went into this blind then regarding getting John Paxson or Isiah on the team. Is that what you're telling me? He was blind about all of this.
I'm telling you that he didn't have nothing to do with anybody being on the damn team. See,
okay.
We create these scenarios where we give guys way too much credit that they don't even want. Because we're so successful, we just automatically say, he wants this kind of power. He's going to make the determination who's who. He ain't trying to do that. Man ain't trying. He don't give a shit. How is he?
Wait, yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Wait. Yes, he does. Because he just said in The Last Dance, he called Isiah Thomas 30 years later an asshole. If that's not bad blood, because you let things go, right? But he called this guy on national television in front of the world 30 years later. He goes, this guy is spin it any way he wants to. He goes, I don't care what he says, he's going to spin it. He goes, he's an asshole.
He said he's an asshole, but
that's pretty strong.
That was after the Olympics, man.
I get that. It's 30 years later. It's 30 years later.
You're damn right. There's people that will still call an asshole after 30 years.
So if he still 30 years later calls him out his name, what do you think his feelings were back in 92?
He can have the same feelings. Doesn't mean that he shared that he didn't want him on a team. Where do you get that from? Let me just say this. I don't think there's anybody on the Bulls team roster at that point that likes Isiah today. I know Scottie Pippen doesn't. And he's made that very, very clear.
Right. None of them like him.
So that's just one player. So we're gonna put that at his doorstep because I don't know who told this story that he didn't want Isiah on the team because he never said that. Do you think he would not feel like he could say that?
He could have said, hey, I want him on the team. He never said that.
No. Do you think he could say, I didn't want him on the team? You think he could say that? That he has enough gravitas to be able to say that? And this is his documentary, and he hasn't said that, although we'll see in this next series.
He could have cleared it up. He could have cleared it up and said, hey, you know what? I never said that. He could have cleared it up and said, I never said that I didn't want him.
Who's asked the question? Who said it? So who are you clearing it up for? Did anybody pose the question to him that says, Michael, did you want Isiah Thomas on the team? Nobody asked the question, so what does he got to clear up?
Well, the rumor, the speculation, the
You,
thoughts, the
so you
doubts,
respond to
everybody,
you gonna respond to
the
rumor, every speculation? People always got stuff to say, man. It's nowhere near true. We create these scenarios in our head because of a whole lot of different things, and it has nothing to do with the truth. The truth.
but you don't know the truth, do you?
Okay, I don't know that you don't either. But I'll tell you what road I'll take. I'll take the high road and say he didn't say it.
Ah, he didn't say it, but it didn't mean he didn't indicate it. Listen, and I'm going to stick with that. And the reason I'm going to stick with it is the fact that you can't tell me that you can tell me, but 30 years later, he calls this man out his name on national television in front of the world. If there's no disdain or dislike for a human being, I don't know what is. He called that man
What
out
is,
his
so what
name
you don't
30
like?
years later.
So what? There's people I don't like for 30 years, and I still call him an asshole and a jerk. Ain't that
Not
a
on national TV in front of the world.
I don't know why not.
You're going to be a little bit, you're
Who
going
am
to
I
be,
going to be afraid of? Who am I going to be afraid of that I can't tell him that he's an asshole and a jerk?
it's not a matter of being afraid. It's just 30 years later you go, okay, all right, whatever it is,
You
it is what
you
it is.
it. You don't like somebody. Why are you going to change it? You're going to be who you are. Authenticity, my friend. Authenticity. Don't throw a rock and hide your hand, as my grandmother would say. If you don't,
Boom.
then say it. And don't be afraid to say it. Say it where everybody can hear
Right.
you. Right?
And there's a reason why he said it, and there's a
Because
reason
he
why he
don't
still
like it.
feels that way.
Because he don't like him. That's why he said it.
Right. And if I don't like you, I don't want you to participate in my party. And that party was the dream team. Hello.
His
The party was the dream
Let
team.
me just tell you so, because you I don't think you look at it in its totality of all the players that were on there who didn't like him. Look at Magic Johnson. They had already split. He didn't speak up for him. So you can go down the list. Why couldn't it have been him?
Well, if Michael has said,
No.
what?
I have a question about Magic.
Magic,
Yes.
Magic, he's riding with the top dog. Larry riding with the top dog. Barkley riding with the top dog. Malone riding with the top dog. They all roll with the top dog, man. They even had Christian Laettner on the team. Christian Laettner. Come on, man. Come on, man. Don't start with me. Christian Laettner. Christian Laettner.
Christian Laettner was the only guy who shouldn't have been on the team, but they always took a college guy. You got 12 alphas, okay? Ain't nobody getting ready to listen to somebody else. These are all
you kidding
leaders.
me?
They're all
Are you kidding
leaders,
me?
okay? Everybody speaks their own mind and got their own way of doing things. They're all Hall of Famers. You think they're going to let one person influence them? It don't happen like that, man. It doesn't happen like that. Not at all.
Well, yeah, you're right. There was more than one person on that team that did not like Isaiah Thomas, and he is not. You said on his resume, that's what's missing on his resume.
Absolutely.
They didn't like him. They got him out of there. He's a bad boy. Nobody likes him. Still today, they don't like him.
Why didn't his coach back him up?
Because he went with the consensus. He went with the consensus. He went with the consensus. He goes, hey, you guys want to play with this guy? Nope. Okay, fine.
Nobody that, man.
They picked on the phone. Hey, Stockton, you want to play? You want to get on the dream team? Stop.
People don't do that, man.
John Stockton, what do they do? What do they do?
Not
What
on
do
a
they do?
dream team. Maybe on a team where it's your own team, like the Chicago Bulls or the New York Knicks. They're talking about bringing somebody in as a free agent, what have you. They'll have that conversation. They're not going to have that conversation with no dream team, man. Just like when they brought Rodman in and they took him to Jerry Krause's house with Phil Jackson, they asked Scotty and Michael to come over there because they had to sign off on it. This is not the same thing. The dream team is made up of different other personalities that you don't have any allegiance to. So you don't have to do that. A player would rather not play than do that, man. You don't
why wasn't the guy on the team then?
I don't know why he wasn't on the team, but I'm not getting ready to blame somebody else that I don't know. It's not right, Jerry. It's not right.
No.
Accuse somebody else of doing something that you cannot validate. That's my point. Not to you, but to everybody, including you. You cannot validate that Michael didn't want him on the team. And if you can validate that, I'll shut the hell up. Tell me how you can validate it.
The only way to validate it is get the man to say, hey, Mike, did you not want this guy on the team? That's it.
No, man, no. It's nothing but conjecture. That's all it is. That's what you think.
Yeah. Well, I'm just this is what I'm going to do. I'm gonna ride with you. Say you're gonna take the high road. I'm taking the high road with the guy who has 6 championships, with the guy who has a docuseries about him, with the guy who called the guy that he didn't like an asshole 30 years later. I'm gonna ride with that cat. You can ride with Isiah all you want to, but I'm gonna ride with that cat. I'm gonna ride with Mike.
Isiah.
And I don't care. I don't care.
No,
Listen,
stop. Because don't even talk about me riding with nobody. I ain't riding with no Isiah. I ain't riding with Michael. I'm riding with the facts, okay? So don't twist this shit so somebody can hear it and say, well, I'm riding with Isiah. That's not true. I'm riding with the facts. The fact is, I don't know what it was, but I believe Rod Thorne when he said Michael never mentioned Isiah's name. I believe that because he's a man of integrity and
credibility. And I believe that too. I believe that too. And I don't mean you like riding with Isiah, like y'all boys like this.
And people hear that, and that's what they will take from it. Words mean something.
No, I certainly understand that. That's what I'm trying to convey to you. Despite the fact that Michael didn't verbally say it, his indications were, hey, y'all can have them, but y'all won't have me. That's my interpretation of it. But we can move on, man. We can move on. Because I agree with you. I agree with you. Bill Lambier stuck to his guns. He called the Bulls whiners. He said they whining. He goes, I don't care. I don't like them. Forget about it. He stuck to his guns. He was a man of his word. And I'm not trying to get back to Isiah, but it seemed like Isiah's making his rounds, trying to clear up everything. He shouldn't even have to do that.
He is trying to do that. And
why?
Personally, I think that he should just hold himself accountable and say what he did was wrong. Don't talk about Boston and what they did. Just say I was wrong. It wasn't good sportsmanship. It wasn't a good narrative for me to be able to create in that, right? They beat us. They swept us 4-0. I should have shook their hands and told them congratulations and walked off the floor. That's all he needs to say. He doesn't need to try to backtrack and talk about what Boston did because Boston has nothing to do with what you do. Again, we don't go back emulating people that do wrong. We're always trying to do it the right way. And he found himself in a bad position because, as I'm sure you heard, John Sally said the word on the bench was we're going to walk off without saying anything, without congratulating him, right? And he asked Chuck Daly to put him back in the game because he didn't want to be part of it. Him and Michael were frat brothers. Him and Scott and Horace were cool, right? So he didn't want to be a part of that. Not only that, Joe Dumars said he never even heard or thought about not shaking Michael's hand. That was the most ridiculous thing here. He said, I wasn't going to be a part of that. So for the guys who I actually saw, and I didn't see everybody, but I did see Zeke, I did see Lambier, and I saw Mark. Now, I don't know who else went by those guys and didn't shake their hand, but it was very, very unfortunate, man. It's not the way you want to leave the court. It's not the way you want to have your game remembered. You don't want people to think that you're so a loser. You want to be a professional. You want to exemplify sportsmanship. So all those things were missing, and that's the unfortunate part. But again, Isiah suffered greatly for it. And
again, with him, making the rounds to try to clear his name up, the damage is done, and he's what he's doing, in my opinion, is he's awakening a whole generation that have no clue or no idea. But now they're going, wait a minute, he's trying to defend himself after 30 years, so. And I love Isiah, and a lot of people in Chicago love him because he's a Chicago product. The guy was phenomenal, played at St. Joe's. He goes to Indiana, wins a national championship. He makes it to the NBA representing Chicago. Unfortunately, he's playing with the bad boys, and Michael was on his rise, and so things didn't pan out. But unfortunately for Zeke as well, some of his business dealings after he left the game were questionable, and people point, fingers at him regarding that also. So he's got to own up. He's got to own up, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying there. So let me ask you this. So do you think that, and I'm just asking your opinion, do you think that it would have been better if he would just say he made a mistake and shut it down?
Yeah. He should have said, if I were him, or if I were one of his peeps around him, I say, hey, man, you got to own up to this, because what happened, what happens, brother. Anytime people, they're guilty of something, then they come out and admit and say, you know what, I screwed up. We're forgiving country. We've forgiven people. We're like, you know what? We got you. We understand. You know, he can even listen. He can even take it so far and say, you know what? That was that Chicago West Side mentality that came out of me, man. You know, hey, gunslinger. You know, I'm ride or die, whatever. He could have come out and said, you know, something like that, and say, you know what? It's hard for me to, because Barkley even said it during his playing days. Bob Costas asked him, "Is Michael Jordan better than you?" And Barkley's like, "Hey, man, I ain't gonna never say somebody's better than me. He's good, but I ain't gonna never say that somebody else is better than me." So Zeke could do the same thing and say, "Hey, you know what? At the time, we weren't gonna just turn over and let this guy walk in. He had to earn his keep." That's what I would do or suggest.
You know what? The crazy part is that I keep looking back at the series, and they got swept.
Right.
They got swept.
Right.
They got swept 4-0.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you just got your butt trounced.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close, right?
Yeah. Now I'm sorry, go ahead.
Now, the other thing I was going to say is in terms of Zeke, for some reason, he gets caught up in some things because I think he's a great guy. I have a good relationship with Zeke. But even the thing that happened with Larry Bird when they asked Rodman in the locker room about Larry Bird, he's not that guy, but he gives the impression that he is that guy, right? That the guy that you don't like, right? That you don't want to be around unless he's on your team. If he's not on your team, you can't stand the guy, right? And that's the unfortunate part because I haven't been around him. I've been around him a little bit lately. He came and did some stuff for me to speak at with some players and what have you. And he was great. He was very personal. He was articulate. You know, he shared so much of the game to them. And, you know, to now have people, as you said, now these young people players who didn't even know this happened, now they look at him a little bit differently, which is truly unfortunate, right? So,
right.
Anyway.
But so you're absolutely right. I lost my train of thought there. No. For those people who may be watching and don't know what you're alluding to when you say that the comments that Dennis Rodman and Isiah said about Larry Bird, do you want to refresh that or do you want me to do it? Hey, man, people don't know what you're talking about.
I know. I've screamed and yelled enough for the day. But anyway, I'll do it in a mild-mannered kind of way. So anyway, Boston and Detroit are playing in the playoffs. And one of the reporters asked Rodman how good, you know, Larry Bird was and this and that. And Rodman's response was that, you know, if he was a brother, you know, he'd just be another player. And then the reporter asked Isiah, what did he feel about those comments? And I think he, in his way, supported what Rodman said. And the whole thing just blew up because then people started creating their own narrative. You said Bird would just be a regular player and this and that. And so he had to come out the next day and address it. The fortunate thing about it, he addressed it with Larry Bird at the press table. But nevertheless, it was still a little bit of a black eye for him to carry to have to defend that. Even if he said it in jest. Most people would say, no, you meant that, right? You only came out because we're calling you on it. So, you know, having a couple of incidents like that, man, it's hard to overcome, as we both know now, 30 years later.
Yeah. I love Isiah. I really do. And I feel for. I don't have a relationship with him like you do, but I've over the years definitely I covered him and met him and followed him and those things. And I just being a Chicago homegrown product, you know, I have a fondness for him. But you know, even with the the WNBA and the CBA and all of those things, man, he, you know, his business dealings. Some people speculate that, you know, the CBA folded because he tried to strong arm David Stern. You know, Stern didn't fall for it, and so, you know, the league faltered. And yeah.
I was actually coaching in the CBA when it went under. I was coaching lacrosse Bobcats.
Okay.
And, I got the word that morning from the owner of the team that we're out of business. And I'm like, you got to be kidding.
Right.
This is like a job for me, man. You tell me I don't have a job?
Right.
And, basically, that was it. You don't have a job. It's over. It's done. And I never really found out exactly what happened. In fact, I probably should ask Zeke next time I see him. But I had to come back to Chicago jobless, man. Seriously. And I thought that was, at that time, I still wanted to coach. Let me just say, still wanted to coach. And I felt, this was going to be my stepping stone to move up to the NBA on somebody's bench or what have you. Because I'd already scouted for the Knicks for 4 years. So I was like, okay, this is an opportunity, right? I'll get an opportunity to move up at some point on somebody's coaching staff and take it from there. So I was disappointed. I was caught off guard, and I was kind of like, well, what do I do now? I had to kind of redirect, my future in terms of what I was going to do.
Well, see, that's and thank you for sharing, Doc, because a lot of people didn't know that, but that's one reason why, you talk about a black guy regarding Isiah Thomas is many people felt that, again, he tried to strong arm David Stern to get a few more millions, out of the league, and it didn't happen. So, he ran it in the ground, which affected, like you said, yourself, coaches, players, trainers, everybody involved.
The only thing I think about all those players, obviously I was able to regroup, but not immediately, but I'm thinking about those players who that was the stepping stone for them too, as you know, to move, get a look and hopefully move up to the NBA. So
I mean, that's why a lot of people around the league have a disdain for Isiah, because he took money out of a lot of people. He took dreams away from folks because of his personal greed that, he wanted to be, the man. And so there are a lot of people, around that won't forgive him for that. Forget about walking off the floor. Forget about not making a dream team. There are people after the game that, in the business spectrum of it, won't forgive him for that.
So let me ask you this, because I'm truly, I did not know any part of that story about him and David Stern. So was this to get more money to infuse into the CBA?
Yeah, so he wanted to get a few more $1 million, exactly, put into the CBA. He wanted to build it up and then more or less sell it back or whatever to the NBA. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the word on the street. You can ask Isiah. I'm sure he'll say that wasn't the case. We can't ask David Stern, but former players around the league, man, during the time said that was the word on the street, and it really left a bad taste in their mouths because, like you said, you lost a gig. There are many people who had dreams of getting to the next level, and it was cut short. And we don't know who, landed on their feet and who didn't land on their feet. But it was all, and at the time, we were all in the media saying, how could you run the CBA into the ground? We asked that question. How could you run the CBA into the ground? It's now defunct. We didn't understand that.
Wait. You didn't understand it and you were in the media? I was an employee and I didn't understand it, okay?
Yeah. It didn't make any sense because you took this iconic figure in Isiah Thomas. You saw, David Stern, and you think, okay, Isiah's going to take it to the next level. And it never happened. And then the next thing you know, there was no more CBA. You go, what happened? Didn't make any sense. Didn't make any sense.
Okay.
What else did you take away from The Last Dance, man?
Yeah, thank you. Good transition. So wasn't this one the one that Robin went on vacation?
I told you Jordan had to pull him out of bed.
Okay, so here's the deal. Here's the deal, man. Like I don't remember this, I have vague memories of this part. But when Scotty came back, that's when Dennis supposedly went to the field and said, hey, I need a vacation. Now, let's just unpack this for a moment, okay? Everybody deserves a vacation. Vacation periods for some are already identified, i.e. sports. Football, right. Their vacation periods starts in January, depending if you make the playoffs, starts and you go all the way to maybe June or something like that for your OTAs. Baseball starts in September, October, right? Basketball starts usually in May or June. Okay. This is in the middle of the damn season. Who the hell have ever asked for a vacation in the middle of the damn, man, come on, man. Look, and here's the thing. He had the kahunas enough to even ask Phil that. I'm serious. I can't even imagine him asking like a Pat Riley that, hey, Pat, I need to go on vacation, right? But then Phil handles it so damn well. He brings in his guy, right? And then said he needs a vacation. And of course, Michael gave the best and the most important response he could give. If anybody needs a damn vacation, I need a vacation. I've been missing. I have to put up with him. Now you want to leave? What the hell is this going on? So,
right.
I was floored. I was shocked. And just the whole dialogue of it, the question and the answering. Okay, Dennis, can you do 48 hours? I guess I can do 40 hours if that's all I can get, right? Still, if you let this guy to go to Las Vegas, we're never going to get him back. He's not coming back for it. So then they say that Dennis left after Phil says okay and goes straight to the airport and goes to Vegas.
Well, he was true to his word.
Yeah. I'm along Michael's lines when I say, okay, you're going to let this guy get loose. You're telling him, you're giving him the approval. Go party, right?
Right.
And, true to his words, I think what was the young lady's name? Carmen Electra. She was dating.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he doesn't come back in 48 hours. Michael's got to take a private plane out, right? And go to the hotel and find him and pull him out of the damn room. For him to come back. Hey, man, you can't make this crap up, man. Seriously. And this is the kind of stuff that I kept saying I wanted to know more about, right?
Right.
So I was real happy to see that. I was shocked, but I was like, wow. This was the Chicago Bulls, right? This is what you do when you have rock stars, right?
Yeah. I love Carmen Electra's response when she said, because he pulled him out of the bed, not just the room, but out of the bed. Right. Carmen Electra said she was hiding behind the couch with a cover over her head.
Right. Hey, man, I can only imagine. Because she later said, maybe not on this show, but on another show, she said, dating Dennis was like, okay, we always go to dinner, and then we'll go to a club, and then we'll go to a club, and then we'll go to more clubs, and then we'll go to more clubs, and then it's like, 10 o'clock the next morning, and then it's time to go to bed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know some guys who were kind of a part of his posse, and and I had a chance to have a couple cocktails with Dennis, but not to that extreme by any means, no question about it. But he was definitely a unique individual. And the one thing about Phil Jackson giving him the green light and the okay that in Dennis going to Vegas is, it's alleged that Phil was kind of cut from the same cloth. Now, he's from Great Falls, Montana, and he was kind of like a lone wolf kind of guy into the Indian tribes in that nature. But we know back during the '60s when Phil played with the Knicks, that he was on the on the weed. He was on the weed, and it was speculated that he tried some of the that candy stuff. What is it?
But I'll say this, that if he smoked weed, and I've heard that too.
Right.
That's a big difference from leaving the team and going to party. If you smoke a joint, you're at your own damn house, right? You smoke a joint, you eat some damn snacks, and you go to bed. That's it. So that's what it is.
Is that what you do? Is that how it works?
That's how it works. Okay, I've been there. Okay, you smoke a joint, right? You eat your snacks, and you go to bed. You don't bother anybody. It's over. It's a wrap, right? And you get up the next day and you go to work.
Hey man, my daughter went to I'll give a shameless plug. She went to Liquid Fusion, man, and got me a little treat without them little ball things in there. You like the
what is it? What flavor is it?
It's a smoothie, man. Hey Alicia, what flavor is this? She ran away. I don't know, man. But they trying to keep me healthy, brother. I think it's papaya.
Is it good?
It's delicious. I wish I could share with you.
Hey man, okay. I just had mine before we started.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Mm.
Bananas, blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, um, what kind of waters? Coconut water, and
Nice.
coconut water, a little honey, and peanut butter.
Woo!
I just had
You
12.
made it.
Yeah,
Good for you.
yeah, yeah. I
Good
make
for
one
you.
almost every day.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, they take care of me. They take care of me, and I appreciate it. I wish I had more, but beggars can't be picky or choosy, right?
Right.
Thank you, Agent. Hey, man. Before we get out of here, we got to come back home and talk about the current Chicago Bulls. Arturas Karnisovas is making some moves, man, and he just brought in Mark Eversley out of the Philadelphia 76ers, brother, and it's the first time the Bulls organization have a black GM. What were your thoughts when they made the move?
Well, um,
Uh-oh, you're pausing.
yeah, because if he's good at his job, then great.
Right.
I think they brought in Michael Finley. He was considered, and that's who I wanted to get the job. Mark Eversley got the job, and I
Mm-hmm.
know what we're going to do. The Chicago fans are going to do. We're going to grade you about how you put this damn team together, this roster together, and
Right.
just you make about free agency. Only at the beginning do we talk about people of color getting at least an opportunity to be considered.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's all about can you win? I knew Mark. I don't know him like really close or anything.
Right. Right.
He worked for the Raptors, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the Raptors has been one of my teams ever since I've been in the league. And I think he's respected. I think he's worked his way up.
Right.
I don't, like I said, I don't know him like that. We never had, it was just like, okay, I'm Mark. Yeah, I'm Lloyd Walton. I'm here to do, meet with the players. Okay, that's it. So I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see who else he brings in. I'm going to wait and see what he does with Boylan. What does he do with this roster? What kind of coach will he bring in? Because I know I'm ahead of myself because it hasn't been announced, it hasn't been said, but I would bet that Boylan is gone.
Right.
Okay?
He's got to be.
You and I agree that, you want to start with a clean slate and you want to start with the coach that you pick. You guys will be kind of tied at the hip, right? GM
Right.
and coach. So I'm interested in see what kind of guy he makes the head coach. I think they have a decent roster. I think they have a playoff roster. They don't have a playoff coach. Okay, and you and I talked about this, getting the same kind of responses at every presser with Jim Boylan, and nothing ever changed.
Right.
So I'm happy they've made some decisions and made some moves that they've never made before. Let's see how it pans out. I want to see this team get in the playoffs. I'm not saying fight for a championship in year 1 or 2. I think that's something that you build towards. But I do think you have a team that should be able to go out on the floor and compete every damn night for the money we pay to see them. They've got to get the fans back behind them, because fans just want you to go out there and play hard. Give them everything you got, because that's how you're getting paid. And if you do that, though, you can fight your way into maybe the 8th or 7th spot in the playoffs.
Right. No, very well said, man. And I know it's just a change of scenery. I think Chicago, I think the Bulls, they just needed some fresh blood, and I'm glad. Allegedly the word is, John Paxson said, "Hey, I'm ready to move up. I'm not ready to move out, but I'm ready to move up and hand this over to someone else." And thank God he decided to do that. They give the axe to Gar Foreman. And again, word on the street, just wasn't well liked. Even when Jimmy Butler was here, and they dealt him. The Bulls brass was just it was just a negative image out there among players. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction. I'm with you. I don't think you can't keep Jim Boylan along. You bring in all these changing pieces and these new faces and new idea, new culture. You can't keep the same guy who, for all practical purposes, you would have been a better head coach than that guy. So they got I'm being real, man. You would have been a better head coach for this team than this guy. What we just witnessed, and I don't think it's a slam against him. I just think it's reality. So hopefully we'll hear something soon. As far as a new head coach for the Chicago Bulls. Before we go, because this is the fastest podcast, man. It's outstanding. It's insightful. It's energetic.
Yeah.
And definitely a wealth of knowledge. There's no question about it. Let me ask you, man. We talked about Isiah Thomas, Zeke, and the CBA. Dude, what's up with the G League, man? You got some young high school kids that say, hey, you know what? I ain't going to college. Give me 500K. Give me 300K. I'll go to the G League and hone my skills to get to the next level. What do you think of all that?
Well, let me say this. These kids, even as far as back as, my old butt was, we didn't get anything for going out and perform, right? I mean, I went to Marquette. We played for the national championship. We were ranked number 2 in the country. We were always a team that was on TV. Obviously, the TV money today is not what it was back then. But nevertheless,
right.
We got our $15 a month, to go have one sandwich, and then you're done. And even using the player's likeness. So anyway, here's an opportunity for a player to go work on his craft and get paid handsomely for it, actually. My only concern is this. Well, I got 2 things about this. Number one, we as program deliverers for our young players are going to have to really focus in on the number one thing is financial literacy, okay? I don't want a kid that's 18 years old not understand what this money means to him and to his family. Because first of all, if you get 500 grand, that's not how much money you're going to get when the government gets done. You're going to get about 275, right? So it ain't 500. Right. All your boys and everybody back at the crib is saying he got 500 grand. Well, you didn't get 500 grand. You got 275. We really need to be able to educate them about what the money means and what you can do with it. Now, my other concern is this. There is no guarantee that you're going to be a pro for any length of time because you do this. You could actually pan out in 3 or 4 years and not be able to play anywhere in the NBA. Now you don't have a college degree. What skills have you accumulated besides feeding the post or step back jumper for life? That's my concern. I'm not caught up with the money. I think the money is a great thing. But what happens afterwards? And I was thinking about this as I'm preparing these remarks about my book, is that I always thought about, this is a true story, I always thought about after my junior year in college, like I thought I'd make it to the NBA, but I kept thinking like, well, what do professional basketball players do once their career's over? What kind of job do they have? And I was serious about that. So that was always in the back of my mind. So now we get an 18-year-old kid. He pans out in 3 or 4 years. He's 22 years of age. He has no skills. He has no education. What are we going to do with him? What is he going to do for himself? That's my fear for these kids. My fear. And I'm not saying don't pursue what you love, that you're passionate about. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that we in the NBA industry and family have to be able to do a better job to prepare these guys for this real life events that's going to take place. Because if you go to the G League, here's one thing that's going to happen, Jerry. There are going to be guys there that's not going to play team ball because they want to get to the top 2. I don't care who you are. I need to get there. That's why I'm in the G League. So I'm not making that extra pass necessarily to you. I'm going at you hard every game. I ain't lighting up because you came in here as a high school phenom. In fact, I'm going right at your head. So if you don't make it, what are we going to do? What are you going to do? So that's my concern right now. And I'll be honest, I'll just say this, that we haven't had our conversation because everybody's on corona, on lockdown, if you will. But at some point in time, we'll have these kind of conversations in-house about how do we help prepare these guys for this journey that they're going to be on.
Very well said.
One day I'm going to find it and I'm going to send you a conversation I had with 2 guys. Okay. Shea Cotton is one. Gosh, what the other kid's name? God is escapes me. But both of them were ranked number 1 in the country coming out of high school different years. Number 1 in the country.
Right.
And neither one of them ever played a game of basketball in the NBA.
Pro ball, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neither one of them got a college degree. What can you do without it, Jerry? That's my concern, man. That's all I'm saying is that it's not guaranteed just because of that.
Right. Right.
If you don't even do the right thing with the 275, it's going to be gone in no time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the 275, even if you do the right thing, it ain't going to last your lifetime.
Not at all.
Right? So
Not at all.
we're going to have to put our heads together, which I know we will, and we'll come up with some programs and services and mandates for them to be able to do what they need to do to help prepare them if you can't play in the NBA for 5, 7, 8, 9 years, where you can make enough money and get enough skills to be able to do something else with your life.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. Marshawn Lynch in the National Football League said the same thing, beast mode. He said he hoped that these young bucks, you know, could take care of their money. He said not only during your playing days, but afterwards too, so your money can take care of you down the line. And he said he just hoped that these guys can learn how to budget and manage themselves right now so that they can take care of themselves down the road. And I appreciate guys like you and the work that you do and what you put into it, because and you had the foresight to say what happens, even during, you know, your collegiate years, what happens if, you know, and there are a lot of players, it's unfortunate. There are a lot of people, but players in particular, that they see this money, man, and they think it's going to come and keep coming and keep coming. Kendall Gill, who does work on NBC Sports Chicago, he said he misses the checks. He misses the checks. You even said that, you know, in the podcast and on the show, that you looked at your check and say, "Hey, wait a minute." After your playing days, you say, "Hey, wait a minute. What is this? I can't work with this. I can't work with this." So I commend you, and those out there who are looking after and looking to help, you know, the next generation of players coming through, brother. So God bless you. Before we get out of here, man, tell us, how's the book coming along, man? Everybody's chomping at the bit. They're looking forward to it. How's it coming along?
I will be reading the manuscript, the book this weekend, and hopefully by next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll send it to the guy to put it all together, meaning the pictures that we've chosen to put in the book and putting it all together. He said it'll probably take him about 10 days. And hey, man, then Amazon and Public, here we come, man. It's been a slow process, but we're almost there, Jerry. We're almost there. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it, man. I thank you for bringing it up every time we're on the show. This has been, as people would say some years ago, this has been a labor of love. This is part of my legacy. It really is, for my kids, my grandkids, my family members. I hope I don't piss too many of them off by what I said. If I piss you off, write your book. Then you can piss me off.
Well, you know what, brother? You know, I learned you can't make everybody happy, and I'm sure you know that as well. But as long as you tell the truth and you stick to the truth, it's up to that individual to come to the truth. And we come full circle, brother. And let's hope that Isiah Thomas and Zeke will come to the truth and say, hey, you know what? I should have been, you know, I did what I did. He should have taken a page from Bill Laimbeer's notebook and say, hey, you know what? Back then, hey, I ain't got. Hey, you beat me? Okay, fine. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. Like 500. 30 years later, to say, hey, you know what, Mike, you were the man. Stop making all these. Hey, Doc, if he wants to make some media rounds, tell him to come on the show on Sunday and tell us. Tell him to come on. Don't go on with Stephen A. Smith. Don't go on with Mike Greenberg. Don't go. Michael Wilbon, come on to Rewind Sports 60 with Dr. Lloyd Walton and yours truly.
Hey, man, I'll end by just saying this. Honestly, because he's done this media rounds these first 2 days, 3 days of the week.
Yeah.
He should just shut it down. He don't need to say anything else. If he ever needs to say anything else, I think he should say it to Michael. He don't need to say anything else. Just leave it alone. Let it die.
Well, wait a minute. That's not a ringing endorsement for us. We want to get them on. We got to get the ratings up, man.
Okay.
Come on. We got to get the ratings going.
You're right.
Then he can shut up. Then he can
Look,
stop talking.
yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. We got to get some more guests on here too. I've kind of dropped the ball, but yeah, come on back. We'll get
Hey, man. Doc, you're the best, brother. Stay safe. Stay safe. Take care of the family. And hope to see you soon. We got to go through another. It's the 1st of May. We got to go through another 25 days before the governor say we can come out the house for good, so to speak.
yeah.
So let's hang in there. 25 more days, brother, and we'd love to see you back in the studios. Okay.
My man, Jerry, thank you, man. Take care of the family here.
You got it, brother. Hey, they taking care of me. I got me a smoothie.
I'll have next time we get on, okay?
You got it, brother. Peace.
All right, my man.